Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds. Welcome back. I'm Gavin Weber, host of the show. This is Ask the Cheeseman, episode 364. Looks like we're missing some things here. Hang on. There we go. That's a bit better. Yeah, lovely to see you all. I turned all that stuff off when I was recording the pH Matters video that we released this week. Anyway, big shout out to all of the financial members. There we go, that works. A big shout out to Vicky Pitts. Thank you, Vicky, for becoming a YouTube member. And to everybody else on the screen there. And let's not forget our patrons, of course, the OG of the financial supporters. Thank you to everybody who's listed there on Patreon. It is wonderful to see your continued support. Without your support, the show wouldn't go on. So thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. Okay, what have we got going on? Let's have a look at the Trello board. First off, of course, can we show that without mucking around too much? Right, there we go. I don't know how to get rid of this bit. But anyway, as far as videos go, in the publish and promote, we've got Why pH Matters in Cheese Making. Don't ignore this. Hopefully you've seen that. It would be wonderful if you have. Sebastian certainly has, and he's there in the chat now, because he shot me some questions with some photos of his cheese, so I'll answer those during the gallery, which will be at 30 minutes past the hour. Gardening video, yeah, I'll get that done this week. Now, I'm not sure which cheese I want to tackle. I'm thinking I'm going to have a go at Gouda. So I'll put that in the video shoot. I know we're going to make a cheese this weekend. Sorry, next weekend. Pardon me, frog in my throat. All right. Yeah, so we're making cheese this weekend. I'm thinking Gouda because I did take those videos down because one of the Gouda versions that I made was slightly late blown. Now that I got the pH meter, I can absolutely make sure that it will be spot on and salted to perfection as well, and we won't have any late blowing. However, it is winter here in Australia, and I'm hoping that the cows that I get the milk from haven't been fed on silage. So what I may do in the Gouda video is put in a little bit of protective culture. And in my case, it's LPRA by Sacco, or if you've got Wholeback LC, that's also a protective culture. Or if you've got lysozyme, which is a egg white-based enzyme, that also prevents late blowing, which is because Gouda is a very low-acid cheese when you're making it, because you wash the curds. It's a very mild cheese, can be at start anyway. It has a tendency to late blow, so I'll give that a try. And the other one that I'll really want to do is the Orkney farmhouse cheese, and that recipe was provided by Liz Garson, who may or may not be watching. She's in New Zealand. There's a picture of the cheese there. So yeah, Orkney farmhouse cheese. There's actually two types. There's two dairies. There's actually three dairies on Orkney, which is Scottish Islands to the north of the main United Kingdom. So there's an Orkney cheddar, which is a special type of cheddar. They make it a little bit differently than it's like a stir curd cheddar, kinda. And there's two types of Orkney farmhouse cheese. Liz has given me the recipe for one of them. But I want to talk about those during the video. It's a very interesting subject. I delve pretty deep in it to have a look at the different types of cheese and stuff. So yeah, really cool. So those two hopefully will be coming up very, very soon. I want to do Edam as well, but I want to make sure that I've got the Gouda recipe down pat. I'm going to use the recipe from Hang on, let's get back to my head. I'm going to reuse the recipe from Mastering Artisan Cheese Making by Gianniclas Caldwell. It does have pH markers in there, so I'm going to see if I make sure I can hit those targets, and brine the cheese the right amount of time. It really needs to have the salt settled in, dialed in at the right time, and the right amount of salt, because we want to do everything we possibly can to prevent late blowing. So great book if you want to pick it up. I've got an Amazon link down in my description for this video to my Amazon store, and there should be a copy of this listed on the store. Just remember, I get a little bit of affiliate revenue from everything you purchase from the Amazon store part. That's just so I can reach an international audience without too much trouble. Okay, let's say g'day to a few people, because I should have done that at the start, but I never did, and I'm very, very sorry. G'day, Jeff. How are you? G'day, Patricia and Shauna, who can't make the stream. I think she's probably gone by now. Who else? The next person to come along was Fiona. Hello, Fiona. Lovely to see you. Christy. G'day, Christy. I'll get to your question in a minute. Jill, over in New Zealand as well. G'day, Jill. Who else we got? We got Michelle. Hello, Michelle. Lovely to see you, as always. Jose in the UK. G'day, mate. How are you? Sebastian in the US. G'day, Sebastian. Thanks for your photos, mate. Linda. Hello, Linda. I'll get to your question soon. Mr. Loud Doggy. G'day, mate. How are you? Merv. Good morning, Merv. Well done. Thanks for making it. Who's that? Blue Wolf de Yupa in Upper Michigan. G'day. G'day, Blue Wolf. That'll do. And that looks like it's about it. We've got about 34 people watching, which is fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody. Christy's from Kentucky. G'day, Christy. I caught you before. Right, so is there anything else that I want to do? Oh, yes, so gallery at 30 minutes past the hour. Don't forget that one. And, of course, if you are feeling very generous, you can always make the Curd Nerd light go on. And that will, to do that, you've got to do a super chat. Not a super sticker, super chat, and ask your question in there, and that'll be a priority question, and we'll get to that before any others in the stream. So, that'll do. Let's get started, shall we? Where's the first question? It's from Christy. Oops, yeah, it's working. Right, there we go. Christy says, can you please talk a little bit about smoking cheese and the aging process time? For example, if I make a Colby cheese that can be eaten at 6 weeks versus something that takes 6 months to a year. Okay. All right, so smoking cheese. I haven't done a video on it before, and it was quite easy. I did it in my hooded barbecue. Probably not the best setup, but I got some smoky flavour into the cheese, which was really good. I'll bring the video up for you. Let's have a look, see if I can find it. Second monitor, smoking, cold smoking cheese. There we go. Yep, and it's got the whole lot there. Share, that's what I want. Alright, so there's the video there. Let's just bring it up. Oh, what a good looking rooster. And there's his barbecue. Oh. Hang on, there we go. So there it is there. There's Gav with his bits of cheese and his barbecue. Look, it worked. I got some great flavour. Hang on, let's have a look at the... Can I show a picture of the cheeses? Did I do... Right, there we go. So, a lot of colour in the cheeses, which is fantastic. All these cheeses were mature at the time of smoking, so they had to be fully aged. Now, Lisa over on Cheese 52 actually did a smoking video where she smoked a cheese, and I can't remember what the flavour of the cheese was, what variety it was. She did a cheese, and she smoked one before it matured and one after it matured, and she had a rough, wasn't very scientific, but it was a rough taste test. One of them won over, but they both still ate even the one that was smoked before it was aged. So after it was pressed and brined or what have you and air dried, then she smoked it. I think that one won out. So it developed a more depth of flavour, but it still has to be aged the proper amount of time. You cannot cut aging time just because you've smoked a cheese. Okay, so it still has to fully age, still has to go through the ripening process. All those little enzymes have to break down, all the proteins have to break down, all of the fats have to lipolysize. So all that cannot be sped up by any process whatsoever without the cheese tasting bad. So yes, you can smoke the cheese. That is no hassle whatsoever. However, you cannot speed up the aging by smoking, if that makes sense. Okay, so that question answered. I hope that helped, Christy. Next question is from... there it is, Linda. Welcome, Linda. And I believe Linda is used to be the handle. I can't remember what the handle was, but it doesn't matter. But Linda's here. Says, I'm making white Stilton tomorrow using my new pH meter. I haven't found pH guidelines for this specific cheese. Should I follow the recommendations for the blue Stilton or something else? Yeah, the blue Stilton is exactly the recommendations you should use, so the targets for that. So use those. The final pH will not be as high, but certainly try and hit those targets, because the only omission from the recipe is the penicillium roque 40 at the start. It's the only difference. The procedure itself for making white Stilton is exactly the same. So yeah, just follow that and you should be good to go. You shouldn't have too many problems whatsoever. So well done, Linda. Okay. The next one says, I've tried my first ever cheese yesterday and the curds would not set. It was half whole milk and half cream. Well, there you go. That'll be the problem, I reckon. You probably had way too much milk fat in the milk, and it won't set a curd if it's too fatty, would be the issue. I don't know where to start troubleshooting. So where you start troubleshooting, make sure that your milk is at least 3.2% fat before you start, and it really shouldn't, for any cow's milk cheese recipes, really shouldn't exceed 5.2% fat in the milk, or you won't get a curd set. Make sure that you're not using ultra pasteurized milk. That will not set a curd, so that's another issue when it comes down to milk. My favourite milk for making cheese is pasteurised unhomogenized milk, so a creamline milk, and it must be pasteurised. That's the safest form. If you're using raw milk, that's your choice, and that's fine. But and that will set a very good curd. However, I do highly recommend that you pasteurise, low temperature, long hold, and that's the safest. So there you go. There's some troubleshooting tips for milk. Don't ever do half cream, half milk. It just won't work. There you go. The next question is from Matt. Says it's a statement. Says, smoking, keep it cool and always give it a week or two after before you eat it. Indeed, because the carbon molecules and the smoke flavour then have time to integrate into the cheese. And yeah, what you can do in between smoking is you can vacuum pack the cheese again after smoking and then put it in the kitchen fridge. You don't want it to age anymore. You just want the smoke flavour to infuse in. Don't wrap it in cling wrap for the 1 to 2 weeks, because it will absolutely start to grow mould, especially in the kitchen fridge. All sorts of beasties in there. But yeah, Matt, perfectly correct. It needs time for the smoke flavour to infuse properly. And Matt is a home scale artisan cheesemaker who actually does have a proper dinky die setup, stainless steel, the whole lot, and he sells this cheese at local supermarkets and the like, and probably to local restaurants by now, Matt. So, Eleanor, g'day from Asquith, Saskatchewan. I've got to get that one out. There's a good one. G'day, Eleanor. Lovely to see you on the stream. And Cool Cat. Lovely to see you again. It's so good to catch you from the UK. There's quite a few people watching from the UK. I don't know how you're staying awake so late. But thank you so much. Really do appreciate all of that going down. Goodness me. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat. Pop 3 Qs in front of your questions so I can pick it out. Not that the chat's very active today, but it's very exciting. I want your, Curd Nerds, I want your opinion on the last video, the, what was it? Where is it? I'll show you. The why pH matters in cheese. So this one here. Oh, he's a good looking rooster. So where we talked about pH and cheese making. If you watched it, let me know if it was informative. I had how many comments have I got on it? 35 comments, and most of them were positive. One was negative, and that's fine. That was feedback for me. Yeah, so that's fine. Now, I know Sebastian's got some questions around pH, and we are going to get to that during the gallery, because he's answered the question in his gallery one. So yeah, absolutely, and yeah. So let me know in the chat whether that was helpful or not. Now remember, all of the recipes that I've made up until now, and there are many because I've got I've got 2 books out with cheese making recipes. I think the first one's got 27 and the second one's got 73 recipes in it, and all of those are sound recipes, tried and true, and there are no pH indicators in any of those, and I've used time instead of pH to get to the right acid goals, but they are very flexible, and pH will help you hone your cheese making endeavors. Anyway, so Patricia's got a very valid statement. Says, I believe that cream often has additives that make it unsuitable as an ingredient for home cheese making. For example, carrageenan. That is 100% correct. Here in Australia, Patricia, they don't add carrageenan, which is a vegetable gum, to make cream thicker. They actually add gelatin to make cream thicker here. And that is just as bad for cheese making. It doesn't work. There's one brand that we have here that you can get in the supermarket, a couple of brands that are pure cream. They have no additives whatsoever. They are just cream, and they're suitable for cheese making. And remember that when we're adding cream to milk, we should always use Pearson square to figure out what the percentage of fat is going to be. Now, most commercial milk will have the fat content in grams per 100 grams. So it'll say per 100 grams there is 3.5 grams of fat. So that's your fat percentage. It'll be 3.5%. So to use Pearson square, and I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here. Let's just bring that video up. What are we doing? Cream. Let me just go to the second monitor. So we're searching for cream in the search bar on the channel page. Did I talk about? No, it wasn't cream. It was fat. It was milk fat, wasn't it? Yep. Get my brain. All right. Calculating milk fat content for cheese making using Pearson square. So another good looking rooster. Right. So what am I talking about? Pearson square. So here we go here. I can't make that any bigger. So Pearson square is a calculation that you can do for adding percentages of milk and percentages of fat and get a total percent fat and how many litres and all that sort of stuff. And how it works, where's the calculator? I was plugging in some stuff here. So, for instance, the example that I was using was I had where is it? Here we go. I bought commercial milk, 3.4% fat content here, and the fat percent content required, I wanted 2% fat for, say, a Parmesan, right? And then how much cream did it have in it? Well, the amount of cream, and it told me that I needed 1.9% milk and 1.4% cream, sorry, no, I'll get it right in a minute. So I was trying to lower the fat content, right, to make a Parmesan. So 3.4% whole milk I had, and I want to know how much skim milk did I need to add to get to 2%. So it told me that out of a 10-litre mix, I needed 5.8 litres of whole milk and 4.2 litres of skim milk. And you can use this tool also for raising the fat content of cheese. So I'll grab the link there, which is very helpful. And this may help a lot of people if they haven't figured this one out yet. So you can raise and lower. Just follow the video. It's very explanatory, and you shouldn't have too many troubles. So I put the link in the chat down to the using Pearson square video, and yeah, that's a really helpful video to go and get your head stuck into. A little bit more science. I love it. Alrighty. Seascun says Parmesan is made as other hard cheeses with low fat. Yes, it is. It's made with 2% fat. Patricia says, if I need pure cream, I buy it at the health food store, regular grocery store. Always seem to be modified with stabilizers. Good tip. Thank you, Patricia. Seascun says, I always use cream and mascarpone when I want to make a smooth, fresh cheese. Indeed, it's a great little method as well. And Titus, bonjour. Bonjour to you too, mate. Okay. So use Pearson square if you want to raise or lower the fat content of a batch of milk for your specific cheese. Remembering that cheeses like Parmesan and Grana Padano, the cheese that cannot be mentioned, need about 2% fat. So you'll need to lower the fat content of the milk by adding skim milk to whole milk, and use Pearson square to get the proper ratio. If you're going to make something like Stilton, for instance, which needs a higher fat content and actually has added cream to it, then you can still use Pearson square to make the proper adjustment. If you say you want 7% fat, for instance, in your milk, and your milk's only 3.8% fat, then you can add cream and it tells you how much cream to add and all that stuff. So it's a great little tool. It's also used in winemaking and brewing and a whole bunch of other things, but Pearson square can be used for all that sort of stuff. Okay, Sebastian has a question that says, how does the fat to protein ratio affect cheese making process? Very much so. So when I was at do I have a video of it? When I was at the Long Paddock cheese factory for my 60th birthday, they invited Ben and me back to make some cheese, and you would have seen some of those videos. I did silver wattle, and we did the blue cheese as well. I'm just trying to find the video footage. Bluestone, where is the footage for Long Paddock factory tour? No, Long Paddock. Sorry, just bear with me for 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. I will find where we were using the testing unit. Long paddock, butter, testing milk. That's the one. All right, let me just have a quick look, see if I can't bring a video up and show you a little machine that they tested tested the milk with. Where is it? Yes, this might show it. Right, so this is just a frame from a video. Let's just see if we can get that to come up. Right, so this is a frame from a video that I haven't shown yet. I didn't get permission from the thing, but I'm just showing a single frame. So this is the tool that they use. It's called a lactic check, and it determines the fat and protein ratios or content of the milk. Now, they gave Ben and I a task to, and can we see that task? Where is it? Do we show the board? Sorry, the final fat to protein ratio. Yeah, they were telling me that the fat to protein ratio was very important, and each batch of milk is tested, and they wanted to make sure that the ratio was about 1.2. Now, I didn't go into specifics. I haven't done too much detail on cheese making information. The reason they wanted to know, oh, we've got a super chat going on. Thank you, Sebastian. The reason they wanted to know that was because they wanted to know how much cream they could safely skim off of the milk so they could make cultured butter. And that's the reason they were testing the fat to protein ratio. And they do that, like I said, they do that with every batch of milk that comes in. Because they can make more money as a commercial operation. The proteins in the milk really don't change too much. They do during the lactation cycle to a little bit, because baby calves need more protein up front and less fat. And then at the end of the lactation cycle for the animal, they need more fat and less protein. But the milk over the lactation cycle does change slightly. The only reason factories test it is because, they, like I said, they want to know how much cream they can skim off the top and make butter, because butter sells quicker than cheese does, and everybody uses butter. Well, most people use butter in cooking, and they sell it to restaurants and all that sort of stuff. So that was the reason that they were testing the fat to protein ratio. But for the home cheesemaker, don't get too involved with it. It's unless you're going to become an artisan cheesemaker and you need to test all that sort of stuff, don't even worry about it. It won't affect the final homemade cheese. Okay. David, g'day David, lovely to see you. Evening from the UK. Flying visit, say g'day. G'day, mate. Hopefully you watch the follow-up. And that was the super chat from Sebastian, $20 US. Thank you very much, mate. Really appreciate it. C. Scarsden says, today I asked the KI, I'm not sure what KI, because of rice types, and the name of fat and protein were very similar. Amylase and amylase, that's the same word. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Merv has a question, says, do you have any tours of cheese making dairies in the future, like the one that you did at Long Paddock was great? Yeah, I am planning to do that, mate. And reason I say that I haven't done one since my 60th, I'm now 61, is because about 2 months after the visit, I got a back injury that we've discussed. And I just haven't been, I can't drive more than an hour at a time without my legs starting to go really sore. And then I get the throbbing toes and all that sort of stuff. So unfortunately I can't drive too far away. So that's the reason I haven't visited any other dairies. And there are other local dairies. So we've got Meredith Dairy down in Meredith. which is between Geelong and Ballarat. And they're a goat dairy only, and they make a fantastic marinated goat cheese, which is one of their biggest products. It'd be lovely to tour that factory as well if they're willing. And that is less than an hour away, so hopefully I'll try and hit them up, Merv. So yeah, thanks for that. That was the alarm for the gallery. We'll do that in a sec. David says, great video on pH, just bought a new meter. Thank you, mate. Glad you liked it. Titus says, I love cheese. Just add to the comments. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Alrighty. Let's do the gallery because we can. It is time. We have some great pictures. Let's get that up. Now, the gallery is brought to you by you, the Curd Nerds, as always. The first gallery entrant is from Christine Charbonneau. I think that's how you pronounce it. And Christine says, my Borson turned out great. Thanks, Christine. Didn't amplify on anything else, but it does look really nice. It looks like a garlic and herb Borson. There's some cherries there too. Very nice. Look like fresh ones. And some lovely looking crackers. So from all accounts, apparently the Borson was great. So yeah, it's really good. Okay, the next one is from Graham, and Graham says, this is Graham Osborne, says, hello Gavin, I'm not sure what happened in relation to the newsletter. I was receiving it regularly once a week, and then it stopped coming through. The last one I received was number 59 on May the 24th. If there are any more, I'll be grateful to receive them. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a poke, I think, to because I hadn't done the newsletter for ages. I just wasn't feeling the vibe. So I had one half draft, and it was about Parmesan, because I love Parmesan cheese, and I hadn't done a newsletter on it, so I whipped it out, the Parmesan newsletter that was, and got it quickly done. So anyway, Graham goes on to say, I made your orange kefili without the walnuts. It was very nice. Thank you for your recipe card. Much appreciated. Graham, thank you, Graham. Let's just zoom in. You can see bits of orange in there without any walnut. And we've got some holes, but they're not eyes or anything like that. That's mechanical. And that is 100% no issues whatsoever. Looks like you may have vacuum packed it, and that's fine as well. Kefili normally has a natural rind, but in this case, in this recipe, I highly recommended that it be vacuum packed because of the walnuts, actually, because they do tend to get a little bit moldy. So, yeah, absolutely perfect as far as a final cheese goes. So, orange kefili, very nice indeed, and I hope that Graham added the Grand Marnier, the orange liqueur, to give it a little bit of a kick. So yeah, very nice indeed. Thank you, Graham, for sending that in, and the little nudge to get the newsletter going again. So yeah, there should have been those who are subscribed to the newsletter, there should be one in your inbox if you haven't already seen it. All right, the next one entry is from Merv. And Merv ordered his cup. He's got his Talk Curdy to Me cup with the little cow on it, as requested by quite a few people. And as we can see, Gav has his Talk Curdy to Me cup as well with the cow. I love the cow, great image. I got it off a stock website, and then it was subsequently thrown in my face that it was an AI image. Apparently there's some stigma around AI images, and I didn't realise that. But anyway, I like it, and it stands. And so the Talk Curdy to Me mug is up at merch.cheeseman.tv. Anyway, back to the gallery. Thank you, Merv, for buying that. Hope you're having a coffee in it right now. All right. The next entry is from Sebastian, who's in the chat today, which is fantastic. And thank you, Paul. to those gift memberships that you've thrown in there. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, mate. All right. Sebastian says, Gavin, I watched the new video, Why pH Matters in Cheese Making. It was a great video. I have a lot more clarity on acidity in cheese making. Fantastic, thank you. The below pictures are some of the cheeses I've made in the last month. The first one here is Asiago Papato, which was made on the 18th of June with 22 gallons of milk, yielded 26 pounds of cheese. One of the wheels started to form cracks in the rind, so I decided to vacuum pack it. So that would have been the one at the back. So I've noticed there's some cracks here as well, and the cracks usually happen when the cheese cools down too quick. The pressure itself could be a little bit higher, I think. It's just for this bit here. I don't know if you can see my pointer, Sebastian, maybe just on this cheese here. But other than that, they look fantastic. And they're fairly short aged. The version that I made really did... I only aged it for 6 weeks. It was a little bit mild in flavour, and I aged it a little bit longer, another 3 or 4 months, and it had a lot stronger flavour and a more peppery flavour. But at 6 weeks, the recipe that I used was really nice. Now, there are different versions of Asiago. There's the mild one, the 6-week one, and then there's like a 10-month version as well. So, but they look really nice. And there's another, I think there's another photo. There it is, where it's a little bit tighter in. So thanks, Sebastian, for that one. And there's another photo he's popped in here. This is, I'll get a little bit closer. This is his second is a drunken cow with Merlot, which was featured last week with his pneumatic press. I used 20 gallons of raw cow's milk, yielding 17 pounds of cheese. The second cheese is the drunken cow with Merlot. Oh, we've already done that. Right. Okay, so these are also surface cracked or not pressed heavily enough. Now, it could be that during pressing the curds are not warm enough. That's why they're not contracting properly and giving you a nice closed rind. That's my only real suggestion as far as you've got to get the rind closed. So I know you're using the pneumatic press, but you need to really up the pressure. I don't know, I'm not sure to pop the molds or anything like that. But yeah, so that you need to get the rinds closed on these sorts of cheeses. You'll get some nice features in the cheese due to colour and stuff like that. So that would be impressive because of the cracks, because the wine would have soaked in. But yeah, the wine doesn't add too much flavour. It's just a colouring thing, really. There is a slight noticeable wine flavour to Drunken Cow, but from what I remember, it wasn't overpowering or anything like that. It was very slight. Anyway, that is all. Why is my little hand still there? Right, so that is all of the gallery photos. But Sebastian had a question. Let me just let's go back to that. He has some questions around the. Right? So here we go. He had some questions about the table that I put into the video. Says there, in your new video, Why pH Matters, you show benchmarks for pH levels for different cheeses. Question is, how much does the pH vary between each cheese, for example? Well, you can see here on the table how much the pH varies for each cheese. I don't understand the question, but, you know, different cheeses. So the higher the pH, so the less acidic, if that makes sense, the less crumbly the cheese and more melty it is. So you'll see there, for instance, and I think I said this during the video, that because feta has a really high acid level or a low pH, so low pH means high acid, it is a very crumbly cheese and doesn't melt very well at all. Whereas cheddar, we all know, melts lovely and it's great for toasties and all that sort of stuff, has a higher pH, and it has a lower acidity. Parmesan has less moisture, so it doesn't really melt, and even though it nearly has the same final pH as cheddar, it's the process of the whole cheese. Because it has hardly any moisture, it uses a thermophilic culture instead of cheddar, which uses a mesophilic culture, and the curds are cooked to a lot higher temperature, therefore they don't really melt that readily. It's part of the process as well. Blue cheeses do have a higher pH than, say, feta. They do melt. That's because they've got a higher fat content as well. They do melt slightly, but they're not gooey. They just run and split. And lactic cheese, the same thing. They've got a very high acidity, low pH, and they don't melt at all. But talking about meltability, looking at mozzarella, very similar to the final pH of cheddar. We know that's a melty cheese because the acidity is lower and the pH is higher. So there we go. Alrighty, so that makes sense to me anyway. So the next part of the question is, how much does pH vary? Oh, we already did that. What is the pH benchmark for Manchego? I would use the one for Parmesan. Any hard cheese, I should have put hard cheese, I suppose. Use the benchmarks for Parmesan. And then it says, is it the exactly same as Parmesan? Yes, indeed. All right, so the next question is, there are cheese recipes based on time and temperature, which are all of mine so far, except a couple of the last two. Says that use... and I see some recipes that have pH values at stirring, draining, texturing, draining, or pressing stages. What metric supersedes the move to the next step? Time, temperature, or pH? Okay. So let's not get confused, because as time progresses, and we need another prop for this. Can I bring it up? 1 second, bear with me. Do I have the other table? Here we are. Let's go MO30. Right, breaking the fourth wall as always. All right, so as time goes, when you add the starter culture here at 0 hours, okay, you add the starter culture, your milk's about 6.4, between 6.6 and 6.4 of pH. As time goes on, as the hours go on, the lactic bacteria multiply. They're breeding like rabbits in your milk, okay? So the colony is expanding, and then they start to reach a point where they start chewing through the lactose in the milk, and that's what happens here. This is this acid drop. This drop between hour, let's say, 3.5 and hour 8. Okay, so the acid will drop rapidly. And then as the lactose becomes scarcer, there's no food for the lactic bacteria, and they cannot find they won't produce any more acid. So this is where you get the tail of the acid curve. And this is for MO30 or MA11. This is the acid curve for it, and it says that the total acid capability is a final pH of 4.3, and that's at 16 hours, okay, after you've added the starter culture. And remembering, this is at a temperature of 32 degrees Celsius, it says here. So at 32 degrees Celsius, at 6 hours, you should get a pH of 5.4. Anyway, so that's the acid profile of the cheese. So time equals acid or pH drops. Okay, so when you're doing a recipe that has, when you're doing a recipe that has just time measurements, okay, like most of them are in most homemaking cheese books, then what is happening is the acid is starting to drop over the time. And when they've done it, they've measured the pH, but they don't want to get too complicated and spoil everybody and put everybody off by getting too nerdy or too scientific. They want the home cheese maker to make, a decent sort of cheese that's safe. That's why they put in timings instead of pH. Those timings are the same as pH markers, except they don't show the pH, if that makes sense. Anyway, so if you've got pH markers in your cheese recipe, then use them. You'll get a great consistent cheese every single time. Okay, if you're using time and temperature like most cheese making recipes, depending on if you change the milk, how much extra starter culture you add, and all those sort of stuff, then absolutely you will have changes in cheeses if you repeat them. So by using pH markers, you can be more specific and get the same cheese over and over again. Okay, hope that helps. He also says, I looked online for acidification graphs for starter cultures and I could not find them. Can you tell me where to find them? You have to go to the manufacturer websites. Absolutely, that's where I found them. I went to, in my instance, the ones I use are from Sacco in Italy. That's the manufacturer. I went to the manufacturer website and looked up for the culture specification sheets, and that's where I found the graphs. So every manufacturer should have a acid curve graph for their cultures, if that makes sense. And then Sebastian says, thank you for all your help. I appreciate it, mate. Hope that it worked. That is the gallery, ladies and gentlemen. I know it was a long one with all those extras at the end, but I love answering those questions that folks like Sebastian put in. So that's no hassle at all. Clarification where clarification's due, so that's fantastic. Thanks. Okay, next question says here from Mr. Loud Doggy again, says, I'm following a recipe for Roquefort from Mary Carlin that calls for 2 quarts of whole milk and 2 quarts of heavy cream. Can you please direct me to a recipe for a Roquefort that you might recommend? Goodness me. Half and half cream, that's just crazy. That's probably why it failed. Let me think of a good recipe. Is there, in my book, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, there is a good Stilton recipe and it works for most people. Let me just bring that up. Can I find it? Gav, where'd you put it? Probably here. I have an ebook version. I'm out of stock at the moment of hard copies. So let's just show the screen. Let's make it easy. So if you go to, let's have a look. This link here. Let's put in the chat. There we go. So back to the page. So besides the 2 courses that I run and home consulting, home cheese making, so I'm not home. I don't come to your home to consult. In my books, here we go. Here's the bundle. Here's both of them. This is in US dollars, 36 US dollars. The bundle of both my books. So Keep Calm and Make Cheese and Keep Calm and Make More Cheese. Let me just have a look at the individual one. I think the first one, if you really want to only have a few, let's have a look what recipes are in it. No, I can download it myself. Yeah, all right, stop it. It's because I already made it. I own it. Just show me the product. Oh, goodness me. It's not that hard, is it? Computer says no. Right. All right, here we go. Here's the product page for Keep Calm and Make Cheese. All right, so it contains a recipe for Stilton. Yes, it does. And it's a very good recipe, and it's tried and true. I have a very good Stilton video. Let's find that. Let's go to Stilton. And that is a really good video. Here we go. Here to make Stilton style cheese. Let's get the link to that, and we'll share that in the chat as well. There you go. You can't go wrong now. it is a tried and tested. I wouldn't use Mary Carlin's Roquefort recipe. It's just too much fat in it. And that's why it won't set of curds. Anyway, so go and check those out. Hopefully that helps. Okay. Next question is from Merv says, I have reached out to Meredith as I have friends of friends that work there. I'm seeing if I can get some sheep or goat's milk, waiting to hear back. Keep you posted. That would be fantastic, mate. Because I would love to get a nice supply, because I just can't get my hands on goat's milk. The goat's milk that normally I can get my hands on, which is Caldermead Farm. Every time I go to the supermarket, it's the only place they sell it, besides at their farm, and it's too far away for me to travel. It's out of stock, always. So obviously somebody likes it. So when I go there, I always take everything I can get as well to make goat's milk cheeses. And I really need some goat's milk to make my Valençay, which I made once, didn't work. I don't know why it didn't. Absolutely, if you can get a supply, even sheep's milk, what a great. I'd make a pecorino. I'd make a proper Roquefort with the sheep's milk as well. So yeah, absolutely cool. Merv also says, I'm using the mug as we speak. Fantastic, good on you, mate. And Michelle says, I love that cow cup. It's a mug. It's a mug. Michelle. There we go. Can we get right in close without the teleprompter going funny? There we go. Talk curdy to me with the cow. I thought it'd be a little bit lighter. It wasn't the photo I did. Oops. But it turned out dark, so that's fine. It looks really good. Anyway, I love it. I love it. Kim says that the writing could be a bit bigger. I tend to agree, but I couldn't fit it onto the mug. It wouldn't let me. Couldn't make the text on there. Anyway, moving right along. Jill says, image on the mug is great. I can't wait to order mine. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. I appreciate that. Titus says, hang on, there's something about, I missed something somewhere. Where is it? Somebody's talking about pineapples. Why are we talking about pineapples? Will pineapple curd milk for cheese? Will it curdle milk for cheese? From Google. Right. And the answer is yes, pineapple can curdle milk due to the bromelain enzyme it contains, which breaks down proteins. This process can be used to make cheese, however, but it may result in a bitter taste. I reckon it probably would be. You know, normal pineapple and pineapple juice actually hurts my tongue. Does that make sense? The acid will curdle the milk too, so not just the enzyme. I answered my question. Good on you, mate. Paul says, how important is it to flip cheese that have been aged for over a year? Does it really matter at that point if you relax the flip schedule a bit? Yes, I would think so, because the fats would have done what they need to do. The reason we turn the cheese is A, we need to inspect it to make sure that it's still okay, and B, because the fat migrates if you leave it in one spot too long. So if you leave the cheese and you haven't touched it for 3 months, then you're going to get more fat at the top, and more proteins in the bottom. So the texture of the cheese will be uneven. Also, what can happen if we don't turn it often enough? The cheese can tend to flatten, and it'll have a big bulge at the bottom and skinny at the top. So that's why we turn it weekly. So those two reasons mainly. If the cheese has been really dry and it's aged for a year, then yeah, you can probably relax the weekly flipping of cheeses. But remember that big factories, say, I'm thinking of long-aged cheeses, and Parmesan comes to mind, or Parmigiano Reggiano, of course, as it's officially known, comes to mind, that they have robots to do all that. Robots brush off the cheese, flip it every single week, and they don't have to worry about that sort of stuff. So there you go. But I hope that answered your question, Paul. Yeah, you can relax it a little bit if you want. The next question is from Matt. Totally agree on pH. Go home cheesemakers. Follow the recipe and you'll make a good cheese. If you can afford a pH meter, all the better. Indeed. Look, I totally agree, Matt, 100%. If you've been making cheese from my recipes or anybody's recipes and they've been turning out okay, then don't get too hung up about pH. Only reason I made the pH video is I was interested in it myself, and I knew that a few people have been asking in the chat and in comments on videos about pH, so I decided, yep, look, let's do a little bit more deep dive research on pH in cheese making, and that's what I came up with. It took me like 3 weeks to do the research and figure it all out. I couldn't find one reference that had everything that I wanted to know about it, so I had to look through multiple books, multiple scientific papers, multiple outputs from the two main cheese universities in the US. So I had to read through so much stuff, and to get that table, my lord, I tell you, so many places I had to find the markers for the different cheeses. So that's why hasn't got every single cheese on it. So yeah, it was different. Okay. Moving right along. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that comment. It's very good. Yeah, next question is, and Seascarsden, I can't understand German, so I won't be answering your questions. Sorry about that. The Voice of Reason says, hi Gavin, I recently purchased a mango and ginger Wensleydale. Any suggestions how to prepare the mango and ginger? A how-to video would be great. Wink, wink. Thanks very much. Okay, so what they do is that they process the cheese afterwards. So they make the Wensleydale like they would normally, traditional Wensleydale, and then they crumble it all up. And I've seen videos on how they do it. They use a machine to break the cheese up into little bits again after it's been aged. Okay, and then they prepare the mango and ginger. I'm not sure how they do it, but they probably both steam sanitized or what have you. They wouldn't soak them and boil them in water or anything like that. It'll lose too much flavour. And then they mill that into the cheese again, and then they repress the cheese. That's how they do it. So, thanks, Voice of Reason, for your question. Hopefully that answers it. So it's after the fact. So just make Wensleydale as normal, crumble it all up, mix in your ginger and mango, and then press it, and then eat it. There you go. Probably wait about vacuum pack the cheese after you've repressed it. Wait for about 2 weeks for the flavours to mingle back into the cheese from the ginger and mango, and you should be good to go. In fact, I think they even add a little bit of sugar, some powdered sugar into the curds to get it a little bit sweeter. You'll notice that it's probably sweeter than normal Wensleydale as well. So there you go. Okay. Merv says, have you heard from Lisa? She dropped off the edge of the world. Lisa, as in Zombicus officinalis. No, I haven't heard from her at all, unless she's changed her handle and she's in the chat. No, she probably, I don't know. Some people stay on the chat for a long time. Patricia's one of the most dedicated, absolutely dedicated curd nerds, and I think she's been on just about every stream since episode I don't know when, a long time ago. And then there's people that, pop in occasionally, but some people lose interest in cheese making. That's fine. Absolutely. I haven't yet, since 2009, so I'm doing okay. So no, I don't know. Dominic says, where can I get one of those cheese flipping robots? Yeah, where can I? That is a good question. Italy, apparently. They're all into robots for flipping their cheeses there. The big factories, anyway. The little ones, they do it all by hand. Will it vacuum your cheeses? No, they don't vacuum the cheese. They don't sell Parmesan like that anyway. Patricia says episode 70 or something. Indeed. Maybe I should go back and have a look at the chat and see when everybody came in. Last question, because it's time, ladies and gentlemen. Paul says, strange question, but if you are going to make marble cheese, do you have to make 2 batches at once? One coloured and one not coloured, or is there another approach? Thanks, Gavin. I find that if you want the cheese to bind at the end, the different coloured curds, then yeah, you should make it at the same time, because both batches of curds are going to be warm. Because remember, we're cheddaring, and we're making it into small fingers before we press it, making sure that during the cheddaring process that the curd stays warm. So as soon as we press it, then we've got warm curds, and in the first press they're going to knit together. So you can't really like make one batch one day and then one batch another day, because they're not going to be the same temperature and they're not going to knit together when pressed. So I can really only think of that's the best way to do it, by making 2 batches. And yeah, so I think that's the best way to go, Paul, to answer your question. It wasn't too much trouble, the 2 pots, 2 stirrings, all that sort of stuff is probably the best way to do it. Anyway, Jill says, alright, last question. For the affinage of your rind cheese, do you still vacuum pack or store your cheese naked in the fridge? If I'm going to make a rind, a cheese with a rind on it, and do a natural rind, I'll put it in a ripening box, Jill, and keep the humidity at about 80%. And I'll do that by putting a moist cloth underneath the cheese mat that I boiled, wrung it out, and then and just put it in the bottom. So it gives a little bit of humidity, not too much. And I make sure during that weekly flip that we use a simple brine solution and wipe off any mould. And once the mould goes dry and the surface of the rind goes dry-ish, then you can just brush it off with a soft nail brush or something like that. So that works. All right, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching this week. Of course, we have to pay the bills, so don't forget, if you want to do courses or pick up the books, pop over to courses.littlegreenworkshops.com.au. You've got 2 courses, a beginners and a blue cheese course. I keep saying I'm working on a white mould cheese one, but yeah, I am, but in spare time, and doesn't seem to be a lot of that going down. If you want to pick up supplies, our shop that Kim and I run, and we've got kits and stuff behind here that's on display, littlegreenworkshops.com.au, where you can pick up supplies. We ship all over the world, except for UN-sanctioned countries, which we're not legally allowed to sell to. So, and last but not least, if you want to pick up the very cool Talk Curdy to Me cow mug and t-shirt, there's a t-shirt as well, pop over to merch.cheeseman.tv. Well, thanks for watching Curd Nerds this week. Really appreciate your time. Yeah, it's been fantastic, as always. And until next time, I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching Curd Nerds, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.